Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Um, I want to talk for a few minutes, about some things, concerning, the situation with, the water crisis in Mississippi, which I talked with yesterday on the live podcast with Angel Snup Snup 7. And I want to just say that, you know, um, it's a lot of things that's been going on, in terms of what's happening, you know, as far as, you know, um, what's been going on with this water crisis in Mississippi because of the incompetency of Black leadership down there, and also because of the same thing that took place with the water crisis in Detroit and places like Flint and Newark, New Jersey, where the leadership is majority Black as well. And you know, this is also a message to those of you in the Nation of Islam, in the Moorish Science Temple of America, in the Nuwabian Nation, or whatever name that organization now goes under, or the Hebrew Israelites, since y'all in the Pan African movement as well. Since y'all want to talk about building a nation or establishing a separate nation, just know that that's what's going to come along with a Black nation, which is leadership full of incompetence, and you know, when y'all vote these Blacks in positions, they do nothing but sell the so-called Black American community under the bus. And they've been doing it for years, you know. And this is the reason why I no longer live in a major urban city area where it's a heavy presence of Black people, because the leadership is too incompetent and they don't know how to keep things organized or under control, like you will find in many other areas where there's a white majority at, far as cities and stuff and communities go. So, you know, I just want to say that um, because of that situation, that it's coming to the point right now where a lot of people are going to actually, you know, suffer because of that situation down in Jackson, Mississippi, where there are already people talking about that they want to relocate away from there because of the incompetency of the leadership, and there's no way with a city which is said to have 95% of Black people in the capital of the state of Mississippi, which is also a state that has a majority of 40 some percent of Black people, where they should be going without clean drinking water, a healthy drinking water, at least where they could bathe in and use to cook with and for all other sorts of things, which the necessity of water comes along with. And that's, I mean, a simple, essential thing in life. And when you deplete that because of the incompetency of leadership, that's a problem. That's a serious problem. You know, when you deny citizens the right to free clean water because you and corporations is too busy and greedy working hand in hand, which is definitely not for the interests of the people. And so I must say that because of that situation, you know, we have, you know, we have to hold these leaders accountable, and I'm be honest with you. If black people around the United States decided to take things in their own hand, like the people of France did during the French Revolution, you know, no one could blame them because we not gonna get no equality or justice in no other way, which has been proven. We've tried it through marching, protesting, voting, but voting for the wrong type of people to be placed in positions that are critically important for us. And I have to say that, you know, we need to wake up and realize and understand that if we do not come to a certain point of holding this leadership accountable, we might as well consider ourselves extinct as a people because it's no way in the world that in a nation rich as America, people should be going without free drinking water, which is a simple essential to life for human survival. You know, in a country with this type of wealth, that should not be happening. And so, like I said, which I spoke about in a live that you could go on Reality Temple channel called Angel Snup Snup 7 and watch, which me and him did a video about that yesterday. But and it's on his YouTube platform again called Angel Snup Snup 7. So I mean, we have to wake up and understand and realize that we have no time for this. There's no time to be playing around. This is a serious situation that we're dealing with. It's a very serious situation that we're dealing with. And that, we're dealing with to the point that we can no longer sit back and accept. We can no longer sit back and accept this unless we're willing to just dig our own grave holes and fall right in it. Because you don't see this happening in majority white communities. You don't see this happening in majority, not even in majority Hispanic communities. You don't see this happening in any other immigrant community in this country, but in Black American neighborhoods, which are really not communities. In populated city areas where it's Black Americans at, as I said before. And so, I mean, we have a situation right now, and this takes me back to what a brother recently told me. He said if the leaders of yesterday, like back in the 60s, who fought and died for us to have some type of justice and equality as a people in this country, was to rise from the grave, they'll kill them all over again. And I would have to concur with that because of the mindset of our people, and I just really, you know, have to also say too that to those of you, you know, in the so-called Pan-African community, you know, you know, you're really not interested in Africa, okay? I don't see many of you making efforts to go over there. And if you did, trust me, you'll find yourself in situations probably being a bunch amongst those that are starving over there. Throughout the last few decades, you've had millions of people starving on that continent. Ever since Africa gained its independence from its former European colonizers, it has been nothing but populations throughout that continent in them different countries of 54 nations in Africa that have starved to death. But yet, you always preaching about back to Africa, going to Africa. You got these YouTube platforms, even with the people that's already over there in the continent. But you go over there and try to acclimate with families and tribes over there, but you can't even get along with your own personal families here in America. So cut it out, you know? And the reason I brought that situation up, because with that said, it's a crisis in the black family. It's a serious crisis. And we're very divided. And remember, what was always said to me when I was up under that pro-black construct way of thinking was that unity starts at home. Well, what happened to that ideal with unity starting at home? Because it's a lot of broken family households in which you call the black community, but which is really nothing but a hood. Because anything that had any type of community morals or value to it, as far as black neighborhoods in this country, has went out the window. And we all know as a result, especially due to the heroin and crack cocaine epidemic and mass incarceration as well. You know, so we have a lot of old open wounds that need to be addressed. And a lot of you who went through the crack era and that knows that, you basically giving up on any type of rebuilding of the black family. Even those of you in the conscious community who may at one time been addicted to some type of drugs, even like I was myself at one time or other, you know, and you forget about how it devastated what you call the black community, how it devastated families among the 40 plus million of so-called black Americans in this country who are descendants of slaves born in this country. So I have to say that, you know, we have our priorities really mixed up in 2022, and it's getting worse every day. You know, I mean, and as I pay attention still somewhat to the news, of what's going on around this country. You know, many of us that are dying at the hands of racist police, at the hands of racists in general. You know, I must say that, you know, we are actually, a lot of us are putting ourselves in that situation to be deleted from the face of the earth because of the choices and decisions we make. You know, while a lot of you protested, marched, rioted, and cried over the killings of a lot of our black people in the last dozens of years or so, remember, and like I said yesterday on the live podcast that I was on with Brother Angel Snup Snup 7, that a lot of them opened up the doors that got themselves put in that situation. Now, that don't erase the fact that it was injustice that may have been involved, but still, a lot of them put themselves in that situation. And that's not to overlook the fact that you had law-abiding members of society like Philando Castile in St. Paul, Minnesota, Breonna Taylor in Louisville, Kentucky, Sandra Bland, who got killed in Texas, you know. Know what I'm saying? A brother who was in his Dallas, Texas apartment, minding his business, when his next door neighbor, who happened to be a white female police, tried to barge in to his apartment and ended up killing him for no unjustified reason, you know? So what I'm saying is that, you know what I'm saying? There are those of us who were legitimately and unjustifiably murdered by these racists. But there are those of us who opened up them doors for that to happen to them, knowing that these racists are gun trigger happy and is willing to oblige to deleting somebody who they see as the nigger word. So, you know, like I said, you know, we have to understand both sides of the situation, especially before we get reactionary and go to acting crazy, you know, because a lot of these people were criminals committing crimes against other black people. What about marching and protesting over the black people they killed or that they got away with killing? You know what I'm saying? See, we don't think about it on them type of ends like that. You know? We don't think about that type of stuff. But soon as it happened to them or somebody's loved one or somebody close to them, you know, it's often going to being reactionary about it, you know, in terms of response. So, like I said, we have to understand one thing, that not only do we have to hold our leadership accountable, but we have to hold ourselves accountable. It's just that simple, you know. And you know, I must also say, and like I'm going to say again, that 99% of the stuff that happens to us as black people in this country on an everyday negative basis when it comes to racism and all this other stuff going on, we allowed to happen to us. And plus, we opened up all kind of doors to bring that on ourselves. You know, while you sitting back waiting on a people to change that showed you over and over for centuries that they're not going to change their ways and how they feel about us, especially since they've been dominating and ruling over us and enslaving us for over the last 400 years. I mean, would you expect a person that with that type of history and mindset to do? You know, even like I said, these civil rights bills that were passed in the 60s, they still to this very day trying to wipe all that away. And they have been successful to a certain point in doing that, you know? And so, I mean, it's like, you know, when you talk about you want your own nation, you got to think about all that. First of all, how you gonna be successful as your own nation as you claim you won't when you got incompetence black leadership, not just on a political level, but even on other social levels and religious levels. Look at Farrakhan. Look at Al Sharpton. Look at Jesse Jackson. They ain't politicians. Although Jesse Jackson tried to run for president a couple of times, and I think including Al Sharpton, but they ain't politicians. They just do boys and parakeets. But it's perpetuating racist system, because if they was really about separation, or in terms of trying to bring true equality for black people and true liberation for black people in this country, they would have been successful at that a long time ago. But because of greed, because of egos, because of pride, and because of hypocrisy is why they haven't been successful as leaders. So this is what we got still in 2022, eventually getting close to going into 2023, as we approaching the end of 2022. But, like I said, just like with me and brother Angel Snup 7, when we tried to propose the idea of the Operation Exodus Mississippi campaign 4 years ago, it steadily kept falling on deaf ears. It had all the ingredients in there that showed that things could be done different and basically how it could be done different. But you wanted to stay stuck off in your own opinions, your own ego tripping attitudes, your own, high horse, wanna be chiefs attitude, where you even mocked the Mississippi campaign, called it a pipe dream when it ain't never really been tried. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, as a result, this is why the Mississippi campaign ain't got off the ground. And, even though it would be my goal to want to see it get off the ground, but it's more unlikely that it won't because of the walk mentality of our people, because of the jealousy factor, the envy factor, and all this other crazy division that does not allow us to pool our resources and our common collective ideals together to make such a thing possible for us and our future generations to come behind us. So like I said, I'm at the point as to where, you know, I have, you know, come to the realization that we cannot ever, I've come to the realization that we cannot ever, ever do anything, you know what I'm saying, that's going to really unite us in any real type of way because of the mentality that we have as a people, you know. And like I said, we might as well go extinct with that type of mentality. You always talking about, well, what if the Russians come over here and take over America, or the Chinese take over America? Let's say if they did, you wouldn't be included in the plan. If anything, it'll be worse for you as a descendant of a slave born in this country. Because they'll look at you and say, well, the Caucasian messed over you and oppressed you and had you in slavery for hundreds of years in this country. So you will remain disposable, or they'll just probably send you off somewhere else to another land to be dumped in, where then it'll be real serious problems, you see. So don't get it in your head thinking that because the Hispanic population is rising over the Caucasian population in this country, or because supposedly by the year 230 is going to be the majority of us as black and brown as the majority population in this country. Don't get that in your head twisted, because even if the Mexicans or Hispanics took control of this country, you still wouldn't be included in the plan, you know, and that's a fact. You still would not be included in the plan, period. Whatsoever. You wouldn't be included in the plan, you know, because you're disposable. Remember, you're a descendant of a slave. So they gonna always look at you as being disposable. And that means it's just not the Caucasian, but other people gonna look at you in that same light. And the fact that, you know, you don't have, no one respects you. And then number one, we don't even respect ourselves nor each other. So, you know, that even compounds the circumstances that we under and that we're constantly facing as a people every day in this nation. So, I mean, we have to really understand that we cannot even tell other slaves what to do, like someone say, because we're not in no position to tell another slave what to do when we ain't nothing but slaves ourselves, you see. So, or even advise another slave to do something. We're not in that position. So if another slave want to move out the hood and go move in the suburbs or somewhere around white folk and take their money and their resources with them somewhere else outside what you call the black community, that's their own personal business. You don't have no right even telling them or advising them against that, because you're not providing no environment, which is something like the Operation Exodus Mississippi campaign is about. as far as a protective environment for the women and children and even the brothers, you know, you don't present nor produce no environment to make them not want to go move into another community among other races or cultures of people. You see, so you don't have you don't have no format or foundation put in place where they could say, well, I'm gonna stay amongst my people because I see progress. I see things changing for the better, where even our elderly could feel safe in their own community. We don't got that. So you don't have no right to tell another slave what to do. And then we don't have no power in this country, no laws that are made by us, nor controlled by us, to where we are in the position to tell another slave what to do, you know. So once again, like I said before, we just simply have our priorities mixed up. And I have to also say that, as far as